Welcome back, time to newcomers alike to Phoenix Wright, Trials and Tribulations. This is the Case 2 finale. Man, this case has gone so fast, and we had such a fantastic cast. I can't think of anybody in need of improving in this case. So, without further ado, let's finish this. Today, the thing that contradicts the evidence, the timestamp. Naturally, the lie in this photo is the timestamp. What do you mean? I'll tell you exactly what I mean. On the night in question, Luke Atmey went to KB Security and murdered Cain Ballard. Therefore, it's obvious. It would have been impossible for him to have been at Lordly Taylor at this time. Well, what does that have to do with this statue being moved? Remember, if you will, Your Honor, when was the statue placed besides the warehouse door? Well...
The statue was taken down to the warehouse on the day of the crime. And it was placed there in order to cover up the paint.
Exactly. Luke Atmey had already decided on the time when he was going to kill the victim. And so, in order to create an alibi for that time, he took this picture days before the murder took place.
What the?
Of course, the statue hadn't yet been brought down to the basement warehouse yet. Ah! So, on the day of the crime, Mr. Atmey must have been quite nervous. As nervous as a long-tailed cat in a rocking chair factory, so to speak. Why? Because something that wasn't supposed to be there had been brought down and placed where it wasn't supposed to be. And that is why Luke Atmey had to move the statue on the night of the murder. He did it to make the room match with the way it had been in this photo. Order, order! Mr. Atmey, is this true?
One moment, Your Honor! Have you forgotten this?
What's that?
The data for the basement warehouse computer. According to this, the camera did indeed go off on the night of the crime.
Huh. It's true that the camera had been set up by the Lordly Taylor staff. However, the program used to manage that data was yours. That alone would have allowed you to tamper with the data. Order, order! Mr. Godot, what's the meaning of this? Godot, I warned you about making me wait. Now put that coffee down!
My 11th cup. I've promised to drink no more than 17 during a trial. Which means I'm still good till the last drop.
However, the defense is a very good point.
A good point? So what? We are all but travelers on the road of infinite points.
I think you got your points mixed up with your other points.
So you say this photograph was taken ahead of time? And that the statue was moved in order to make it match? That's a very interesting idea. However, there's one point that can't be denied.
Which is?
It is only a possibility. Men that are trapped by the chains of maybe can never reach their dreams.
Well, that's very true. No way! Don't fall for that, Your Honor!
Hey, Mr. Damask.
Yes?
If there's no funny business in your actions as Mask to Mask, there should be no problem with you telling us your strategy. So let's hear it.
Yes, please provide this court with your testimony about your plan to steal the Sacred Urn. Sacred Urn heist.
I first received the request from Lordly Taylor about 20 days ago. The urn was then placed in the box, and Safari! It was then sent to the warehouse. Hence, I was unable to actually see the urn for myself until the day of the crime. I knew it was an extremely valuable treasure, so I sent my card 10 days beforehand. I then handled security by myself to ensure my crime would go smoothly. At last, I held the urn in my hands for the first time at 1 a.m. on October 12th.
That's pretty much all stuff we've heard before, isn't it?
Yeah, but we'll find the truth hidden in the nuggets of new information he gave. Witness, you're sure there are no mistakes this time?
Safari!
Very well then, Mr. Wright. You may begin your cross-examination. Alright, let's see here. First received a request from Lordly Taylor, placed in a box. I was unable to see their info myself. There's gotta be something wrong with that statement. Let's press. So you're sure that you had never seen the urn before?
Indeed. You may ask Lady Andrews to confirm for yourself. My security was focused entirely on the entrance to the warehouse. However, look at me, let no information whatsoever slip through my fingers.
Didn't yield any information. Okay. Since I'm probably not going to be able to keep this a secret, I'm going to be using a walkthrough for this last half because I don't want it to really... I'm trying not to exceed 30 minutes on this finale if I don't have to, so not fumbling around would really help me. So what we got to do is, yeah, call me a pussy if you want, I don't care. Where's the calling card? There it is. Ba-bam! Mr. Atmey, if you really are Master Mask, then you also wrote this calling card, correct?
But of course.
Is there a problem with that calling card?
Allow me to read a passage from the calling card that Master Mask had written. Take good care of the speckled urn. Now, the speckled here surely refers to this pink pattern on the sacred urn. Yes, that is true. But so what? Truth be told, there is no way that Master Mask could have known about this pattern.
What do you mean?
This pink spotted pattern on the urn is actually nothing more than paint stains. Paint stains? And these stains did not appear until after the urn had been taken to Lordly Taylor.
I'm not finding this joke to be very funny, Mr. Trite.
The day that the sacred urn was taken to the warehouse, the urn was broken due to human error, or should I say an error-prone human. And that's when the pink paint got on the urn.
You can't be serious.
And yet this calling card clearly mentions the paint pattern. Which means Detective Atmey had seen the urn long before the crime ever took place. In fact, he saw it when this fake photo was taken. And because this photo is a fake, your alibi for the night of the murder no longer holds water. Witness, do you have anything to say for yourself? Alright, that did it. He's broken.
Nick, I think it's still a little early for a victory pose.
Huh?
It's so sad. No one has any convictions these days.
Conviction? You say?
Yesterday, we all decided unanimously that this man was Master Mask. Now you're calling him a murderer. You don't think that's being a tad fickle?
Well, that's a good point. No way, don't fall for that too, Your Honor.
You say Luke Atmey was the one who killed Cain Bullard? Then let me ask you this. Why would he do that?
An excellent point.
Ugh.
Motive, Mr. Wright. Motive. Might you, my merry murderous motive, manifest?
Nick, He's getting his second wind.
If he prepared an alibi and pinned his crime on Ron Delite, as you say, he must have had a very strong motive for murder.
The only one with any motive we've seen is Ron Delite. Isn't that right, Detective?
Indeed. According to my own research, the boy's motive is clear.
Without a motive, it's nearly impossible to prove guilt in a murder case. Now then, maybe you can enlighten us as to what the defendant's motives were.
Thank you, Sir Old-Timer.
They're doing everything they can to make Ron look suspicious. Despite our lack of hard information, this may be our only chance. Motive for murder.
I, look at me, had no points of contact with the victim whatsoever. Kane Bullard decided to investigate Master Mask and simply mistook who he was. It was Mr. Bullard who wrote the blackmail letter and sent it to Ron Delite. And it was again Mr. Bullard who harbored a grudge against Mr. Delite for his betrayal. Mr. Bullard's mistake is quite excusable. The defendant truly believes he is Master Mask. That is why Mr. Delite saw it fit to kill Kane Bullard. Truly a tragedy.
So the victim, Kane Bullard, blackmailed the defendant.
This is the blackmail letter found in the defendant's apartment. A handwriting test confirms Mr. Bullard was indeed the one who wrote the letter.
What? Blackmail letter updated in the court record. Very well, Mr. Wright. Begin your cross-examination. Alright, now, this is a hard one, because it's another one of those where you have to press everything. Except for Statement 1, of course. Had no contact, but press Statement 2. Mistook.
That's right, mistook. For the Old Norse, mistaka, meaning take in error.
That wasn't what I meant. Just who did the victim mistake Master Mask be?
Why, the answer was obvious. Ron Delite, of course.
Boy, I'd like to wipe that smug look off this guy's face. Press harder. Why would the victim mistake the defendant for Master Mask?
Don't you already know that? Safari! Take a look at this newspaper!
Oh, that's the famous Tear of Emanon, a magnificent jewel.
The photo shows a magnificent detective as well, does it not? Furthermore, it also shows an ugly god. Namely, the defendant.
The defendant?
The victim clearly misread the article and... Safari! He got the wrong impression. The impression that this ugly god was in fact Master Mask.
I see.
That was an unusually reasonable deduction.
Press this. Now we press Statement 3 through 6. You mean this blackmail letter right here? It says, bring $50,000. And then the handwriting is, without a doubt, the victim's?
There's no mistake. We have an official report to prove it.
But I don't see an addressee on this letter anywhere. An addressee?
This letter was discovered in Ron Delite's apartment. And Mr. Delite did show up at the designated place and time. The fact that there is no addressee is irrelevant.
I wonder...
What's up, Nick?
I just had a thought. What if that blackmail letter wasn't meant for Mr. Delite?
Whoa! Do you have any evidence of that?
For some reason, I just can't shake the feeling that there's something not quite right about this blackmail letter.
Well, everyone, are you quite satisfied?
And now we press this statement. What do you mean by that?
Oh my! I was certain you were already aware. Safari!
KB Security has a lot of security info on all sorts of companies. And since I was security team chief, so I stole the data from the company.
Kane Bullard had yet to forgive young Mr. Delite, which is why he sent him a letter upon mistakenly believing he was the thief.
Here's the file that we discovered in Mr. Bullard's office. Evidence that Mr. Bullard was receiving money through blackmail.
However, isn't this a bit odd? Why did the defendant pay Mr. Bullard the money, even though he wasn't actually Master Mask?
On that point, there was an unfortunate bit of chance.
Does he now? Press. Do you really think that story is going to hold up?
That assertion is not merely my own, I'm afraid.
What do you mean?
I have here a memo from Ron Delite's wife, Miss Desiree Delite. Ronnie thinks he's Master Mask. Don't you feel sorry for him? Please don't think too badly of him. Well, Mr. Trite.
Was he trying to act like Mr. Light just now?
I thought he was actually pretty convincing.
And one more press. Now that's just your imagination talking.
Come now, Sir Lawyer. I'm afraid imagination isn't the right word for it. This is a deduction, the result of carefully applied reasoning.
Can we hear that careful reasoning for ourselves?
It's a long story, and better saved for another time.
Very well, another time. Those so-called long stories aren't usually all that long. At least not in my experience.
So you're going to try to connect Detective Atmey to Mr. Bullard, right?
Yeah, that's right. Hopefully it won't require surgery either.
In that case, you'll have to talk about the blackmail.
That's true. Was that blackmail letter really intended for Ron?
Since we don't have enough information, you should press it for more testimony.
Maybe I'll be able to shake some contradictions loose that way. Alright, what we do is we go to statement 3 and we present... Whoops, not press again. No, stop it. Stop it. No, we're not pressing again. We need to present the blackmail letter that has been updated. Mind if I ask you a few questions, Detective Atmey?
Well, if it's just a few, I guess it's all right.
When you said that this letter was addressed to Ron Delite, I couldn't help but notice one major contradiction.
Contradiction?
I don't know where a walking contradiction like you gets off saying things like that.
You're one to talk.
At times like these, men are made to express themselves with their fists. Come at me, bro. Why don't you show us what you've got there, Junior?
Indeed, time to man up, Mr. Wright. Show us the contradicting evidence in the content of the blackmail letter. Newspaper clipping. Take a good look at this newspaper clipping. It contains a picture of the Tear of Eminon, the stolen jewel. What about it? The problem is this jewel's color.
Color? I'm not much for discussing color myself.
According to the clipping, the color of the stolen jewel was blue. However, in the blackmail letter, a totally different jewel is mentioned. I'll take that red diamond you received the other day. Red? Which means the red diamond described in the blackmail letter is not the Tear of Eminon, but Master Mask stole it all.
And your point is, Mr. Trite? So you're trying to say that this blackmail letter was intended for somebody else? That is what you're trying to say, right, Trite?
That is what you're trying to say, right, Mr. Wright?
Well, that is what you're trying to say, right, Nick?
Yes. This is who Kane Ballard was actually blackmailing. Ba-da-da-da-da-da, look at me. Naturally, it was you, Detective Atmey.
Do you have some sort of basis for that claim?
You have been personally involved in every single mask-to-mask case. And in the last case, you recovered what was stolen. And received a jewel as your reward.
A jewel?
Probably the one wrapped conspicuously around your finger. That red diamond ring!
Clever bitch!
That is the diamond referred to in the letter, which means that Kane Ballard wrote that letter in order to blackmail you!
Ah!
Order in the court! Order, I say.
It seems you've gone too far with your childish pranks, Mr. Trite.
Uh-oh. I don't like the way he said that.
Kane Ballard blackmailing Luke at me? Are you for real?
Yes, I am.
Nick, come on, stand up to him.
Then answer me this. Blackmail letter contains the following passage. If you don't want your identity revealed to the world.
Yes, it certainly does.
Kane Ballard threatened to make Luke Atmey's identity public knowledge. An identity he wanted to keep secret. So just what was that identity?
Atmey killed Kane Ballard because he was afraid of his secret becoming known. What was the identity he wanted to keep secret?
This is what it all comes down to, Nick.
The identity that Luke Atmey wanted so desperately to keep secret was his identity as a blackmailer. Luke Atmey was a blackmailer.
Objection! Hey now, isn't that a little different from what you've been saying? You said that Kane Ballard was the one blackmailing Luke Atmey. Are you saying that Atmey was blackmailing someone else on top of that?
You have to admit, that does sound a little odd.
It's not odd. It's the only thing that makes any sense. Kane Ballard was blackmailing Luke Atmey. But Ron Delite was also being blackmailed by a certain someone. So, did you start receiving blackmail letters after this incident?
Yes, just a few days after the Tear of Emanon heist. After that, I started getting plans in the mail. I received plans from some very kind person. Incredibly detailed plans.
Detailed plans? In which case, that would mean that Ron Delite was actually mask to mask. That is what we are claiming. Someone else came up with the plans and had Mr. Delite steal his targets for him. And that someone was none other than Luke Atmey.
Shh! Silence! Now I see. It's all becoming very clear.
What is?
When you were in grade school, you received the same report card every year. Careless with a tendency to jump to conclusions. Am I wrong?
How did you...
You say that I, Luke Atmey, was blackmailing Ron Delite? In which case, I would naturally know all about his relation to Master Mask.
Well, yes.
Ron Delite started receiving plans from his second crime onward. Correct? Which means I learned of his identity when he committed that first crime.
Good point. You certainly couldn't have blackmailed him otherwise.
In that case, let's see some hot, bitter evidence. During the first crime, how did Luke Atmey know that Delite was mask to mask?
The newspaper clipping, of course. I think I see it.
See what?
When you were in grade school, you received the same report card every year. Gets into lots of mischief trying to be the center of attention.
What do you mean?
This newspaper clipping. It has a picture of you and Delite in his guard uniform. Seems that Master Mask didn't just disappear into thin air. He just took off his outfit and hid it in a bucket. That sounds far too stupid to be true. Correct. With tricks like that, he couldn't fool a baby, let alone an ace detective. And that's when you figured it out, Mr. Atmey. That's when you learned that under his mask, Master Mask was really Delite.
What the? Wasn't he supposed to be Mask the Mask?
Not only that, it looks like he wasn't even ace
I
detective.
can't believe it. He was just a slimy blackmailer.
Law has no place with this
What
man.
a fraud! Trying to pass himself off as an ace detective.
How dare you expose me like that? Why, I mean, I've never blackmailed anyone in my life. I'm a famous and proud ace detective, and also Mask the Mask. Why can't you understand that?
I'm afraid you are neither a proud thief nor an ace detective. You're a blackmailer and a murderer. That is your true identity.
Why you? Those big mouths of yours. Oh, you fools. I say, nothing compared to my genius. You're all just jealous. So good. Desecrate me. Coverate me. There's nothing great. It's blackmail, murder, threats. I'll get away with it, all of it. It's enough to make one laugh.
It would seem we've finally gotten to the real answer.
That was quite a performance by Mr. Atmey.
Bailiff, please prepare a cell for Mr. Atmey.
Objection.
The hammer that strikes too fast has no time to aim.
What do you mean? I'm already prepared to deliver my sentence.
Allow me to say one thing. I will be the one to judge.
Nah.
You don't get much more in your face than that.
It appears that your claws weren't quite sharp enough, Mr. Trite.
Where do you...
It's true that you've proven lots of things. Things like Luke Atmey was a filthy blackmailer. And that he wasn't at Lordly Taylor the night of the murder.
That's right. That's why he's the one who killed Mr. Bull...
But... there's still one thing you have yet to prove.
What's that?
Just because he wasn't at the warehouse doesn't mean he was at the murder scene. Therefore, if you can't prove that this pitiful excuse for a man was at KB security, I don't see how a verdict can be delivered.
No way! Order in the court. Well, Mr. Wright, this is it. This is the final round. Gotta prove that Atmey was at Mr. Bullard's office on that night.
But can you really prove that?
That's long enough, Mr. Trite. I want to hear your answer.
That night, Luke Atmey was at KB Security, and the defense cannot prove it. I can't prove it. Just as I thought. But if we hear more of Detective Atmey's testimony...
Objection.
Unfortunately, that's as far as you go, Mr. Trite.
What do you mean?
I won't allow for any more testimony. That's what I mean.
What?
Have you forgotten? Atmey is here after we interrupted his own trial. And you have failed to prove that he committed the murder. I think it's time for this witness to return to his own trial and face his guilty verdict as Master Mask.
No!
Well now, Sir Lawyer, it seems that love wins out in the end after all. I am the ace detective as well as Master Mask. My verdict will verify that. Just as Delite will verify that he is the true murderer. I declare that with the full force of my ace detectiveness.
Order in the court. That's enough deliberation over this witness. I can't believe this raid run is...
Don't give up now, Nick. We still have tomorrow. We can look for more evidence and...
By then, it'll be too late.
Huh? Why?
Double jeopardy. One of the basic rules of any court of law.
Double jeopardy?
Should a defendant be tried and found innocent in court, that defendant cannot be tried again for the same crime. This is a fundamental rule of all courts. And it applies to this witness as much as it applies to anyone else.
Mr. Atmey will be found guilty in a matter of minutes. Guilty as Master Mask, which means...
he will be innocent as far as the murder of Cain Ballard is concerned.
No way!
The fact that you were unable to prove Mr. Atmey's guilt of that crime here means that he will never again be tried as Cain Ballard's murderer. Aha! Now there's nothing I could possibly do to win, even if Ron is proclaimed to be innocent. The real killer, Atmey, will go free. You have cross-examined every statement the witness has made here today, and as long as there is no more testimony, I'm afraid I have to declare that there will be no further questioning of this witness. Are there any objections? And I hereby end the cross-examination of Atmey.
I think I see it. Your Honor, when you were a child, this is what was on your report card every year. Has poor hearing and often makes mistakes as a result.
How did you...
Phoenix, raise your head up high. Have you forgotten what I used to tell you? A lawyer is someone who smiles no matter how bad it gets.
That voice? No way!
Long time no see, Phoenix.
Mia! This is the true power of the Karain channeling technique. I know that it's really Maya who's standing before me, but right now she's my mentor, Mia Fey.
Now, let's do this.
But there's nothing more we can do, Mia. Without any more testimony, I can't cross-examine...
Not yet. The testimony's not over yet.
What do you mean?
Your Honor, just now you said something very interesting. You have cross-examined every statement the witness has made here today.
Yes, that's true, but...
Unfortunately, Your Honor, you're forgetting something. Earlier, after the last cross-examination, this witness made a number of remarks.
Well now, Sir Lawyer, it seems that love wins out in the end after all. I am the ace detective as well as Master Mask. My verdict will verify that. Just as Delite will verify that he is the true murderer. I declare that with the full force of my ace detectiveness.
Yes, but those comments appear to have no importance whatsoever.
Very well. then we shall prove their importance via cross-examination. At any rate, as long as the witness has made these remarks, we, the defense, assert our right to question them. Is that all right with you, prosecutor?
Is something the matter, Mr. Godot?
Nothing.
Oh, sir lawyer. It looks like you're one step too late. You think such falsehoods would do anything to look at?
Let's hear it.
Huh?
It's true the witness made some remarks. So then, let's hear this last bit of cross-examination.
Mr. Godot, what are you doing?
Very well then, Luke Atmey. I will allow the defense to cross-examine your earlier remarks.
The defense would like to hear why you declare the defendant to be the true murderer.
So please, give us one last bit of testimony.
Phoenix, this is it. This is our absolute last chance.
Yes, Chief. Last testimony.
Indeed, it is true that I was not at Lowly Taylor. I had to leave to see about another vitally important job request. I had known about the date beforehand, so I had this photograph readied. My brilliant deduction was what informed me that the true culprit was Ron Delite. And thanks to the keycard and wallet, it was abundantly clear that he was there. I was also able to make a deduction from the buzzer, which only sounded once. The button did not have any fingerprints on it. Why? The victim would have left prints if he sounded it. Which means the killer sounded it. Mr. Delite was wearing his Master Mask outfit, which is why he left no prints. And the blackmailer? The victim likely just mistook the color of the jewel. Safari! Therefore, all the evidence points to that poor boy.
This testimony actually seems to hold up pretty well. The witness's earlier remarks do not appear to have been hastily prepared. All of his points have been explained, and none of them seem to contradict anything.
But of course.
But how did you know about the emergency buzzer?
The police investigation documents went directly through me. And I always look over the documents. It's elementary, sir lawyer.
Are you going to make even more trouble for us now, sir lawyer?
I will not allow any of your usual shenanigans, Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. We cannot postpone Luke Atmey's trial any longer. This is your last chance. Hang on a sec. Just one chance?
Huh. It seems the party's about to begin.
Well, Phoenix?
There isn't any evidence that contradicts with that testimony.
So it would seem.
What do you mean, so it would seem?
Listen, Phoenix. Pointing out contradictions doesn't always mean you have to present evidence, does it? At any rate, this is our last chance. If you can't point out a case-breaking contradiction, you lose. That's all there is to it.
Up number 17. Last cup. Seems like the time has come to put an end to this trial.
I have to find a fatal contradiction in this testimony. And I need to point it out without presenting evidence. Which means all I can do is find the contradictory remark and press it.
Remember, you only get one chance.
Very well then, Mr. Wright. Please begin your final cross-examination. Alright, this is it, guys. Final cross-examination of... final cross-examination of case 2. You know what I'm saying. Alright. The statement we have to press is statement 9, which happens to be the Mr. Delite was wearing his Master Mask outfit, which is why he left no prints. Mr. Atmey, about this last remark.
Objection.
You still don't get it, do you, Trite? This isn't a time to be pressing the witness on every little statement.
I'm afraid you're the one who still doesn't get it, Mr. Godot.
What?
Mr. Atmey, it seems you have finally admitted that you were in the CEO's office on the night of the murder.
How can you say that?
Let's review your testimony, shall we, Mr. Atmey? The button did not have any fingerprints on it. Why? Mr. Delite was wearing his Master Mask outfit, is that correct?
Indeed. That's what I said. My deductions are absolutely foolproof.
More like your deductions prove that you're a fool.
I'm sorry. Whatever do you mean?
For some reason, I'm starting to get really thirsty.
When exactly did we learn the fact that Ron Delite was dressed as Master Mask when he went to the scene of the crime? That was,
It was just a few hours ago. Back when my sixth cup of coffee was looking at me with a cold stare.
Huh. Oh, did I forget to mention it before? I'm sorry. I just never had the chance to mention it up until now.
That's right. The defendant had yet to tell anyone else this fact before this morning. Therefore, the only people who should know this are those who have been watching this trial. Do you understand now, Detective Atmey? There is no way that you should have known about that! You were in the next courtroom being tried as Master Mask. So then enlighten us. Just how did you know about this piece of information?
Well...
Objection.
Come on! This detective must have known about it. He probably had plenty of chance to find out beforehand.
And it's those chances that I want to discuss next. That night, Mr. Delite was wearing his Master Mask outfit. There is one and only one way for Detective Atmey to have found that out. Only one?
One way, you say?
Please remember, if you will, Mr. Delite's testimony.
When I entered the office, there was a suspicious shadow there.
For a second, my client witnessed the real killer.
But Mr. Delite never saw him. There's no way to tell whether or not the real killer was Luke Atmey.
It's with that statement that I'll turn this case on its head.
Just what are you implying?
Mr. Delite saw the real killer, correct? Now, if you turn that statement around, it stands to follow that the real killer had also seen Ron Delite.
Impossible.
Detective Atmey, you saw Master Mask at the murder scene that night. You saw him when you killed Cain Ballard and assaulted Ron Delite. That was the only way you could have known what Ron was wearing.
Take a good look, everyone. I'm able to find a rival worthy of my genius. I was forced to create one by myself. Here I am, the tragic clown.
That's the same line you gave yesterday. But I think there's a little more meaning behind it this time. What an awfully complicated incident. Cain Ballard was blackmailing Luke Atmey, who was in turn blackmailing Ron Delite. And upon killing his blackmailer, Luke Atmey tried to frame Ron Delite. He then claimed to be guilty as Master Mask in order to escape his true crime. And to that end, he came up with this plan: to use the double jeopardy rule when making his alibi. At any rate, it would seem we finally found the truth.
Excuse me.
I came perilously close to besmirching the record of an innocent young man. Besmirching him with the title of murderer.
Don't ignore me!
Oh, I didn't realize you were there. Why wouldn't he be?
About the verdict.
I know. You never committed any murder.
That's right. I'm so glad you understand that. But, I really am Master Mask!
Huh?
So thanks to that trial yesterday, I'm innocent now, right? What was it you said? Double jeopardy?
Now that you mention it...
I've been careless.
Careless? What do you think, Mia?
As the defendant says, the rule of double jeopardy is absolute. A defendant can never be tried twice for a crime in which he was once found innocent.
Then, Master Mask is really innocent?
For now, it would seem so.
For now? Now then, the court finds the defendant not guilty. And thus case 2 is coming to an end, folks.
Boy, this is really lucky. Wait, that isn't so good after all. You see, the thing is, I still am Master Mask, after all.
October 14th, 3:35, District Court, defending lobby number 4.
You did it, Nick.
Thanks, boobies. I mean, Mia. It's been a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's because Maya doesn't call on me much these days.
Oh?
I'm just joking, Phoenix. Don't take everything so seriously. But on the other hand, Maya, she seems kind of lost these days.
You mean about becoming the master of the Karain channeling school?
Becoming the master means saying goodbye to our mother.
You mean Misty Faye?
Watch over her. Will you, Phoenix?
Of course.
Well then, see you around.
Mia.
Mr. Wright. I don't know what to say.
Congratulations, Mr. Delite.
Thank you so much. No, wait. Nothing really matters anymore, though. Now that all of this has happened.
Come on, just be happy already.
Maya?
You've been cleared of the murder charges and got off as Master Mask to boot.
But, in exchange, I lost everything. Stealing security information from KB Security, becoming Master Mask. I did it all for one reason. For her.
You mean your wife, Desiree?
She hates criminals more than anything.
Come to think of it, she was once held hostage by some robbers, wasn't she?
She always said how she hated sneaky criminals. I knew that. But once I got fired from KB Security and lost all the money I had, she wouldn't have any reason to stay with me. I thought she would leave me for sure.
So that's why you became Master Mask?
Yes, but it's all over now. Broken Bowl can never be put back together!
That's not true, right, Nick?
Right.
Really? Can we go back to the way things were?
You'll be fine, and Nick can prove it.
I can? Kinda wish you would check with me first. Mr. Delite, even if a bowl is broken, there's always a way to put it back together. Hence, the sacred urn.
The sacred urn. Desi was the one who found this.
Desiree, your wife. She's always believed in you, Ron. That's why you'll be fine. You don't have to worry about anything.
Ah, there you are.
Miss Delite.
You did it, Ronnie. You're innocent. I'm so happy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But, I suppose you don't want any more to do with me, do you?
Ronnie, why didn't you talk to me about what was going on? I had no idea you quit KB Security. I never imagined that you were really Mask the Mask either.
Miss Delite, what are you gonna do now that you know? You're not going to really leave him, are you?
Come on, it's obvious, isn't it? How could I ever let such a wonderful man like him get away? After all, my bike's really fast. So fast that there's no way he could ever get away.
But didn't you say that you hated criminals?
Oh, I only hate people who act all cowardly and sneaky. Like that detective.
I see.
My Ronnie went and declared his crimes before he committed them. Like a man. I just love a man who's so chivalrous.
Chivalrous?
I knew I was right about you. Every day I spend with you is filled with thrills and excitement.
Desi.
Desiree, you really do love Ron, don't you?
Nicky boy,
Yes?
I'm really glad I asked you to defend my Ronnie. Thank you so much. I'll never forget what you've done for us.
Oh, well, take care of yourself.
You too, Nicky boy.
Ugh, I can feel my face going red.
Mr. Nick! Mystic Maya! Congratulations!
Talk about bad timing.
Mr. Nick, how could you? With another man's wife in front of Mystic Maya!
No, you got it all wrong.
Forgive you. Never, ever.
So, just as the case came to a close, so too did my consciousness. Ron said a broken bowl can never be put back together, but I know that's not true. I mean, just look. Here's a perfect example of one that was put back together even better than before. And thus ends Case 2. Now, interesting, I want to say a few things about Case 2. I considered Case 2 one of the more forgettable cases, one of the most forgettable for that matter, throughout the entirety of the series. And there's a few reasons for that. The characters are not very memorable, sans Luke Atmey and Ron Delite. The story is quite confusing, because if you think about it, we basically got Ron Delite declared guilty, or declared innocent of something he actually did, then came back and found out he did it after declaring somebody else guilty of the second thing. It was just a very confusing case. That said, my cast was amazing this case. I think my cast really helped to bring life to once forgettable episode, or forgettable case, and just thank you guys. You guys are amazing. On that note, speaking of cast, I have a list of voice actors in the description, as usual. Vote for the one that you thought was the best voice actor of the case. Everybody's eligible. And, without further ado, let's save and begin the preview for Case 3. Can't believe this case went so fast. Episode 3, Recipe for Turnabout. That's enough. This court sees no reason to further prolong the trial. This case is extremely clear. I see no room for misinterpretation of the facts.
It wasn't me! I swear it wasn't me!
The evidence and testimony we have seen and heard are conclusive. The victim was alone at his table when he drank from that poisoned cup of coffee.
No, you're wrong. I know what I saw. I saw. I saw someone else there. Oh man, he's the real killer. Why won't anyone believe me?
Well, I'd say that pretty much wraps this case up, wouldn't you? Mr. Wright?
This court finds the defendant guilty. The court is adjourned.